And we're back having a discussion with Tom Caldwell. He is, of course, the chair of Caldwell Securities in Toronto. Tom, let's move away from the Canadian economy for a second. There does seem to be some growing optimism that the U.S. economy will avoid a recession. Is that warranted optimism, do you think?
I think it's warranted. America has, we know all the problems. We're over news, as you know, but with all due respect.
Yeah.
We're over news, but in actual fact, we're entering an election year. Everybody's going to be telling you, A, how bad things are, and B, what they're going to do to solve it. I think it'll be a very interesting year coming in the States. And the wonderful thing about America, or the great thing is, they have the capacity to renew themselves and the ability and willingness to do that. Unlike here, you have lots of checks and balances. If you end up with a nutcase in power, you can curtail it to some degree. So that's a really significant positive in America. As Churchill said, America will eventually get it right after exhausting all the other possibilities. And I think they will. And there's so much innovation going in there. I do business both sides of the border. And I have one significant investment in a company in the US. And I was amazed at our board meetings. It's just at a different snack bracket. Professional, hardworking, committed, positive. Let's make this happen. Let's do it. And it isn't just bravado. It's smart people committed to making things happen. There's a little bit of malaise up here, I think, somewhat. But you have that attitude in America that let's go do something. And that will eventually prevail, no matter what governments or political pressure groupers do. That optimism, that positivity prevails. There's an old joke in our business. The Canadian motto is aim for the bronze. But you're dealing with tough and smart people down there. And for me, it's given I've investments in Canadian and US companies, but it's like a breath of fresh air, frankly.
Right.
It's just different.
Are we losing our good entrepreneurs in this country? Is that part of the problem?
Absolutely. No ifs and buts. It's too hard to raise money in Canada. The capital pool, both private equity and public, is too constrained. For example, suppose you're at Harvard and you want to make a swimming pool for $70 million. That's about 3 phone calls. Okay, you got the money from so-and-so, such and such. They have big pools of capital. I sat as a director of the Whitehead Institute in Biomedical Research at MIT for some years. That was created as a private pool. Whitehead the man's name was Weisskopf. He was in the garment business and he funded this research center. We spend more at the Whitehead on biomedical research than all of Canada does.
Wow.
Period. So, you're dealing in a whole different world. We've curtailed private wealth accumulation, publicly raising money. The regulations are extremely onerous for entrepreneurs to access public capital in Canada. Plus, about 90, I did a calculation on this, 95% of all the independent firms that used to raise money for smaller enterprises don't exist anymore in the brokerage business. They're gone. And so you don't have the access to public capital. And then the cost to accessing the public market is ridiculous. And the hoops you have to go through, it doesn't encourage entrepreneurship. Canada might be an all right place to start a business. It's not an all right place to build a business. I've talked to many entrepreneurs. I would say, just go to the States. There are people who've got the money. They want to do it. They're positive, as I mentioned earlier. It's far more difficult here. No, I think we're dead in the water with that. We have some good entrepreneurs, don't get me wrong.
Right.
And I consider myself a Canadian entrepreneur, but it's just a lot tougher here to access capital.
Right. And those who are smart, even say brilliant entrepreneurs in this country, they don't have access to capital, so they're almost forced to leave at that point.
And at some point you are anyway. If you want to grow bigger,
sooner
or later, you've got to be in the States. I was originally going to start my career in Canada and in America after I graduated from school, but my wife at the time, and I'm still the same wife, by the way. My wife and I felt that the quality of life in Canada was better, and we stayed here. Financially, would I have done much better down there? Absolutely. No ifs and buts.
Where I want to talk about that maybe in the next segment, not exactly quality of life, but I had a recent guest on lamenting that the per capita GDP in this country is declining, and it is the worst in the OECD group of rich countries. So that's a pretty damning statistic. But
Absolutely.
I
They're
want
thinking of dropping us from the G7, by the way. Nobody bothers to mention that.
I wouldn't doubt it for a second. We're going to take that up after the break. Please stay with us.